Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are very privileged to have an expert in chinuch, and I've had a chance to get to know him. Really brings a lot of powerful and deep concepts in terms of shalom bayis and parenting. And this is very exciting. I'd like to welcome Rabbi Brezak to the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much. Okay, so big first question that I want to ask Rabbi is, I get such pushback from people when I say, shalom bayis is first and then take care of the kids. It's like, they're like, excuse me, like, what? Be fruitful and multiply, Leah, hello, like, where are you coming from? And it's very hard to convince people that they've got a screaming kid, they've got diapers, they've got things on the stove, they've got running carpool, they're making themselves crazy, and their husband comes in, he's an adult, he can take care of himself, grab yourself a sandwich, dear. So the question is, how, I know there's obviously Torah sources that talk about taking care of shalom bayis is way more important than the children, but in a practical aspect, people find this very difficult. Could Rabbi lend some insights into this challenging topic?
I mean, there's a lot to say, but the example you give, I don't think is indicative of the principle. The principle is what you said is correct. Shalom bayis will benefit your children even more than parenting will. But the question you're asking here is, when I'm in the midst of dealing with this and dealing with that and changing diapers, and I'm overwhelmed, and my spouse comes in, I have to drop everything and just sit there and serve him and let my house go chaotic and go berserk and hefker. So I don't think that's true. Even if shalom bayis comes first, it means that in your heart, it's a priority. I'd like to share with you a story that I was told by one of my rabbis, Rabbi Bordiansky of Kol Torah Yeshiva in Jerusalem. He's the son-in-law of the famous Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Zatzal. And he told me a story with the great tzaddik Rabbi Aryeh Levine. Rabbi Aryeh Levine, a tzaddik in our times, Rabbi Yashiv's father-in-law. And he came to a wedding. He was there for 5 minutes and he left, and people said, Rabbi Aryeh, thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate this. Was wonderful. And then another one of the Gedolim, one of the great rabbis of that generation, came to the wedding, stayed for an hour. And he's about to leave, and everybody says, what, you leaving already? You just came. What's going on? So the rabbi felt very not good. He saw Rabbi Aryeh Levine had some kind of trick that he was lacking. So he went over to Rabbi Aryeh Levine afterwards and says, Rabbi Aryeh, what's your secret? How do you do it? You come in for 5 minutes and everybody's happy. I come in for an hour and everybody's upset. He says, it's very simple. When I come in and I'm there totally for 5 minutes. So I take off my coat, I'm totally there, and I'm totally in. When you come in, you can't wait to leave from the very first minute you come in. So you were never really there. Your heart wasn't in it. When shalom bayis is a priority, it doesn't mean drop everything. You're in the middle of putting this, you're in the middle of changing your diaper. It means when your spouse comes home, don't ignore him. Run over, say, Maish, I'm so happy to see you. I couldn't wait to see you. But I'm in the middle of World War III. See you later. Bye. Run back to your kids. I'm in the middle of the Great Flood. More ways than one. So the idea is where your heart lies. It's not a technical AI obligation. It's something that you have in your heart, that your husband, somebody you love and somebody is a big priority. He walks in the house, he's not in your way. He is the way. So if he is the way, and even as you just learned, he's not only in the way of helping your children, he is the way to help your children, because the shalom bayis will help your children more than the parenting will. So take out the 1 minute, the 2 minutes to come, give him a smile, give him a welcome, and however you do it in your special way, and say one sentence, I was waiting for you to come home. I'm so happy you're home. Save me. No, that you can, and you go back to
That
Go
was my
back to
next
what you're
question,
doing.
actually, is that it's like he
Yes.
walks in the door, here, change this diaper,
Right. So say hello. First say hello, then say change this. That's the idea is give him a moment of acknowledgement and how excited you are that he's home and that you love him so much and you're happy to see him. And then go on to it takes heart. It doesn't take any time. That's the mistake here. It takes 60 seconds of your heart, not of your time.
So the question I have for you, Rabbi, is that's one practical example to go from the heart. I totally get that, and do it from the heart and greet him and say hello. What does Rabbi have another just another two practical things that can have a woman have a practical action step she can take to show her husband that he's priority over her children?
I mean, taking his side, but complimenting him even when he makes mistakes, rather than, you know what, preserving his dignity in front of the children, being on his side even when he's wrong, and standing up for him even when he makes mistakes, complimenting him in front of the children, thanking him in front of the children, getting the children to thank him and say how much you respect him. When you feel a certain way, you broadcast that to your children as well. These things are tremendous builders of shalom bayis. So you tell your spouse, I respect you so much. I thank you so much. Why don't you take a notebook? I had a mother that contacted me that was holding by getting divorced. And I told her, make a list of all the good things your husband has done for you. A gratitude list. And she made me a long list. I said about make as many things as you can. I think she came up with about 30 things. And she's not divorced today. Baruch Hashem, to my knowledge. She started appreciating her husband. Again, why should you do all this stuff? Let him appreciate you. Why do you have to appreciate him? And you want to know the truth, you don't have to. But you'll benefit more than everybody else will. Do it for yourself. Don't do this for your spouse. Don't do this for your children. Do it for yourself. When there's shalom bayis, you benefit more than everyone else. Living a life of peace, coming to a home which is a safe haven and a place you can feel fulfilled is a blessing that can't be described. One of the tzaddikim, and you also have the Shechina in your home. I'll share with you a story from Rabbi Zilber. It's okay. You'll cut me
Yeah,
off
no,
when
it's
you
fine.
want
It's
to cut
good. And
me
we
off.
have a question coming in, but go ahead, Rabbi. This is good.
Okay, so it was the other way around. Rabbi Zilberstein brings a story about somebody who everything he touched turned to gold. And there was a rabbi who wanted to know his secret. This was a student of his. And what he did was that he stayed by the student's house for a Shabbos. And I guess he was looking to see if he could see something. And close to Shabbos, the wife was running around with a bottle of oil. Everything was clean, everything was ready. And the wife slipped on the floor, and the oil bottle broke, and the oil spilled on the floor. And the husband was standing there, and the wife started screaming at him that he did it. What's the matter with you? What, you crazy? Carrying oil around right before Shabbos? You making such a mess right before Shabbos? How could you do that? She did it. But she couldn't
Great.
handle the guilt. She couldn't handle the guilt, apparently. So it was a moment of panic, and she threw all the guilt on him and started a tirade. And he was about to say something, and he shut his mouth. He didn't say a word. And the rabbi later asked him, "Why didn't you say a word?" He says, "Because I keep shalom bayis no matter what." That's what he said. I do want you to know. It says in Chazal, the Chafetz Chaim, "V'Noach motza chen b'einei Hashem." Noach found favor in the eyes of Hashem. How does a person find favor in the eyes of Hashem? What did he do to find favor? He was a tzaddik? That's not enough. The Orach Chaim says, no. It says Noach ish tzaddik. That wasn't enough to be saved. He needed to find favor. Motza chen b'einei Hashem. What did he do to find favor? So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, special mitzvahs, when you do them, they bring you to get favor in the eyes of Hashem. He doesn't say what they are. Rabbi Elimelech Biderman, I'm sure you've heard of him. He brings from the Chafetz Chaim, but he doesn't bring this part, but he brings the Chafetz Chaim, who says one of those mitzvahs is keeping your mouth closed, even when you're right. Toile Eretz Al Belima, Hashem hangs the world on nothing. On what does the world stand? The globe, Earth, the globe of the Earth, planet Earth. On what does it stand? On nothing. Says say Chazal, our sages teach us, the world stands on someone who shuts his mouth when someone else is humiliating him.
So I want to ask Rabbi, you had said that he touched gold. Everything he touched to gold. So how did that swing back to, did now the guy, because he was already doing godless. So yeah.
So he continued. This is why everything he touched turned to gold, because he will keep the shalom bayis no matter what.
Oh, I got it backwards. I thought the rabbi was watching the family. The man was watching the rabbi. I get it.
No,
okay.
The rabbi was watching the man. No, you have it right. You got it forwards, not backwards.
Okay.
The rabbi was watching. He was a guest for Shabbos, and as he was there as a guest, he wanted to try to figure out what special mitzvah this man is doing that got him so blessed that everything he does turns to gold. And he saw it firsthand. It was the fact that this fellow keeps the shalom bayis as a priority, even if he's right.
Got it.
And on him the world stands. Now imagine, the world is pretty shaky tonight. I didn't know, this is being, this is being recorded earlier and aired later, but I didn't know if tonight would be the night that Iran is attacking. Someone told me this morning that they said Iran is attacking tonight. I was thinking, what'll be in the middle of the show? And all of a sudden, we were, Erev Rosh Hashanah, we were in the bomb shelters, first time in 40 years. The other times we didn't go into the bomb shelters. I'm saying so, but who knows if Iran didn't attack it because a wife was quiet when her husband said something hurtful. Toile Eretz Al Belima. On who does the world stand? On someone who closes her mouth when they really should open it and answer back. Now, I'm not telling you, again, we're not talking in extreme cases. We're not talking in cases of abuse. But look how good you can feel. You've just held up the world. Do you know what you've done? And do you know who you are? So let me just summarize and I'll stop a second. We've said a few things here. Number one, if you have, do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else, not for your spouse, not for your children, although it will help your children and your spouse more than everything. Do it for you because you'll have a home that you'll feel is a place of calm, a place where you become empowered, not a place where you want to run away from and a source of despair. And in addition, if you do shalom bayis, even if you're wrong, do you know how good you can feel about yourself? You're holding up the world, and who said so? Hashem, Chazal, and the Chafetz Chaim. Imagine, as soon as you were quiet, your spouse says, "Why do you do this? I told you so many times. Why didn't you have this ready? What's the matter with you?" And you don't say anything. And then you can tell yourself, Sarah matz'achein b'nei Hashem. You just found favor in Hashem's eyes. Hashem is really impressed with you. It makes you feel very good, you know.
Okay, we have so many questions.
We have a lot of questions coming in. So
yeah.
Shani's asking, sometimes I feel like my kids run the home. How can we get in charge of the house in a loving way?
Have you ever heard of a strap? A stick, a cane?
Oi.
Don't use them. No, that's not the way. So we teach that there are two types of children, Be'ezus Hashem. There are accepting children. I won't go into our philosophy, B'siyata D'Shmaya, but I'll tell you in brief. sometimes you need to be more assertive, and your problem is that you're not assertive enough. You're afraid of disciplining your children. And sometimes it's the exact opposite. You need to work with your children and you're disciplining them too much and trying to push your authority too much. It all depends on what kind of child you have. In either case, the child needs to be disciplined. The only question is how to apply and administer the discipline that the child will accept it, it'll work, and they'll become disciplined. So sometimes you feel like your kids run the home, so it's probably time for discipline. Either be assertive and see if it works. Assertive doesn't mean to scream. It means that we give 3 C's in being assertive: calm, confident, and consistent. Be calm. Say it again and again. And I just had it out with a mother right before this session, basically, that I wanted her to be a little bit firm with her son. And I thought I had convinced her, and we had a whole plan. Then she calls me back and she says, no, I'm not interested. It was too hard for her, so she wasn't interested. So if you want to get different results, you have to do different things.
Okay, amazing. So another question is, Maya's asking, my husband likes to read at the Shabbos table, and I want him to be more engaged with the kids. Nothing I do seems to work. How can I make my Shabbos table more exciting and connecting?
So the question is if your husband will let you do your thing at the Shabbos table instead of trying to get him to do the thing. I don't know who he is. Will he feel you're stepping on his... He wants to read to the kids at the Shabbos table. He wants to read to himself. Let's presume it means...
Yeah, it seems to be that he's reading to himself.
So ask him, tell him...
Yeah.
So tell him you want to give him his space and you want him to relax. Does he mind if you do? Now, this is tricky because it's Keely, you're stepping into his shoes and taking over. And it's hard for me to see how he won't feel bad, but I do have a different suggestion for you. What you can do is you can make a Shabbos party afterwards, like an oneg, after the meal. And then you run it and you have it with the kids and make all kinds of stories and contests and quizzes and games and points and prizes and interesting conversation. There are many different ways. We have a lot of webinars on a lot of these topics. If you go on our website, it's called chinuch-lifelines.org. We have about 15 webinars. One of them is upgrading your Shabbos table. Just all kinds of ideas. But if you can't do it the conventional way, like people ask me, they're in Kirov, or they have all kinds of other guests at the meal, and they can't give the attention to the kids, and that's their job. They're being paid for that. They can't change it. What should they do? So that's the answer. Make a different time after the Shabbos meal, but get it in on Shabbos. You can't do an oneg. Take a walk with your kids and play a game with them. Bring the fun and the enjoyment you want to bring in at other times on Shabbos.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. Go ahead,
One
Keila.
more last question we're going to squeeze out is somebody's asking, my husband and I come from very different backgrounds regarding chinuch. What is the #1 rule we should follow when it comes to shalom bayis and chinuch? I guess this will sum it up.
Right. So I think that you should be, the best thing probably would be to, I mean, again, I don't know if your spouse is workable. It all depends if your spouse is workable and he'll work with you. There are spouses that are willing to change and willing to grow and willing to work together. And there are spouses that aren't, and they each require a different set of rules. There's a spouse that isn't, so you accept your spouse and you praise your spouse and you thank your spouse and you respect your spouse, compliment him as much as you can, and thank him as much as you can, and write a book of what a good father he is. Because I'm sure what happens here is that the mothers that have especially mothers that have a language with their children, the spouse may be fantastic at responsibility, may be tremendously orderly, but they'll just throw that away. That means nothing. It's terrible. It's not nothing. Being orderly is a fantastic advantage. It's a fantastic trait. Being responsible defines a person. How could you say that's nothing? Yeah, but in chinuch, it's nothing. It's not nothing in chinuch either. Start valuing your spouse, appreciating your spouse, respecting your spouse, and let him know that. That's the first step. That's if he's not willing to work with you. If he is, and you do on your own as much as you can do, and the shalom bayis will bring blessing to your home and help your kids grow up good. If your spouse is workable, then there's something that you're going to have to do, means to come a little bit towards him so that he'll come a little bit towards you. You know that you have the better approach in parenting. You went to Rebbitzin this class and a rabbi this class, and you read this book, and you have a certificate from the institution of unbelievable motherhood, and you're just, so that's nothing to do with anything. At home, if you want your kids to succeed, you have to have unity. And unity means that you'll come towards him and you'll be a little bit stricter, even though it's not the totally best for the kids, because unity is better for the kids than you being off and mothering on your own without your spouse with you together. So you'll come towards him and you be a little bit more strict till he's happy, and he has to come towards you too a little bit. How do you do that practically? Either you'll sit and discuss things, or you'll take a book and you go according to the book, or a certain approach that you both know, or you'll take a certain authority, a rabbi that you'll ask questions to, or a rebbitzin, however you want, but you have to come towards each other. And the first one to come towards the other one is you. Why you? Why me? Why I have to do this first? It's not fair, because you're going to benefit. That's what we started with. You'll be holding up the world, and you'll be holding up your world, because your home is going to be a place of calm and empowering feeling, and it's going to give energy. Somebody told me they went to one of these big nutritionists. I won't tell you, one of the big nutritionists in the world. And he really has shalom bayis with his wife. They were working very hard. And they walked out of the nutritionist. The nutritionist said, I just sense the positive energy. I just sense it. That's what the nutritionist said. This is a world-class nutritionist. Understand, don't you want that energy to be in your home? And it's up to only you. I'll give you a mathematical equation. It takes 2 to fight. If it takes 2 to fight, then it takes only 1 to make shalom bayis. Why? Because then you don't have 2 to fight if 1 is making shalom bayis.
Yeah, gewaldig.
Do
Okay,
it for yourself.
we're out of time, but I just want you to know this was like a whole new level. I'm so grateful to Rabbi Brezak. Gave us a lot of practical tools, a lot of tips, and the deep understanding of how to make this happen, and how to have our spouse realize that if there's shalom bayis in the home, the kids will be fine. As Rabbi mentioned in this room, Chazal, that when you focus on shalom bayis, there's a shalom, the Shekhinah comes into the home, and bracha comes into the home, all kinds of blessings that you couldn't even believe could happen from working on shalom bayis.
But we have to realize.
Yeah.
Our spouse can come later, either they will or they won't. We have to realize. Forgive me for correcting. I think you're a fantastic talk show host.
No, it's good. What I'm in the category. You said there are people who want to grow, and there's people I'm definitely the basali. I want to grow. So I'm totally with you.
That's why you have such a large following. And thank you very much.
Hashem should bench you, Rabbi. Thank you so much. I know you have to race off to teach more classes. Hashem should bench you, and thank you very, very much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Leah Richheimer, and the homework for this week is one time this week, have your husband do something that you otherwise wouldn't do. Break out of that shell and give when it's hard to give and it's hard to do something. Zip your lip and do something for your husband. One kind act for your husband this week. Okay, it's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next week.